Have you ever played a horror game alone? Okay, hear me out. I don't mean watching a YouTuber play it while you hide in the comments, and not while you're screen sharing to your friends in Discord either. I mean completely alone. Well, the answer is probably no. And if you have, then the reason for this is widely because they tend to be somewhat scary, and horror is usually a genre more appreciated in a group of two or more, as it creates memories and strengthens bonds when you survive something scary together. Hence why you probably haven't seen a scary movie alone or went on a roller coaster by yourself. Unfortunately, I feel like this habit of not experiencing horror games by yourself can lead to you not getting the full intended experience. Some horror games can truly tell interesting stories, while keeping you fully immersed with ambient sound design and music. Keeping you on your toes for the next scare and granting you a rewarding feeling after enduring it. These types of horror games are my favorite kind, and today I will be talking about one of them. Which one, you ask? Hey, you read the title. Wow, Outlast 2 now? You're on the road! I don't think anyone has ever in the history of anything literally ever made a video essay about that game! What an original idea! You deserve a Nobel Prize! For 2 videos now, I've covered Outlast and its DLC. In that game, you play as an investigative journalist who ventures to Mount Massive Asylum after following a potential tip for a heinous crime going on there. And going in, we found these claims to be very true. The patients of the asylum were no longer human, and instead turned to violent psychopaths called variants. Some being extra evil, and thereby sticking out, being the main villains of the game, including but not limited to Angry Big Guy, Naked Twins with Morning Voice, Doctor with comically large scissors, and in a DLC, man with so much risk even men will have his babies. And that's all I'm gonna say about him. Anyways, you got all that? Well, forget it, because this game is entirely different. While Outlast, and especially its DLC, was regarded widely among the fans to be almost perfect, Outlast 2 has infamously divided the fanbase into those who hoped it would be like the first game and those who just wanted a scary game in general. Outlast 2 was released in 2017 by Red Barrels. And while it does share the name with the first game, it doesn't follow the same story. Instead, the game leans towards an entirely new setting, with new characters and most importantly, a different kind of horror. Psychological horror. You know, the one where everything is in your head, person has trauma, gets flashbacks, your past haunting, yeah, you get it. In my videos on the first game, I had it relatively easy knowing what I was gonna say. The story is very straightforward as long as you read the documents laying around, and while the lore is broad and extensive, it wasn't obscure enough to warrant debates or theory crafting. Even the villains had simple archetypes, like super strong big evil guy. Yet for those who were interested, there was an extra layer of backstory too. And that was the great part and the reason it was so accessible, because you could still understand the trope of any villain without dedicating yourself to understanding the lore at all. Oh yeah, that's big evil guy, and oh yeah, that's guy who wants to torture me. That said, I unfortunately can't say the same for this game, as the lore here is more convoluted than the entire story of the Roman Empire. I've made my theories and conclusions that I will dive deeper into, but just know that there are still parts of the lore that I am a bit unsure about. Please don't behead me in the comments. Personally, I do have some feelings about this game that I will get into, but it might shock you that I really did enjoy Outlast 2. I thought the characters, the setting, the psychological horror stuff, all that was great. Especially the soundtrack. Oh my... Sure, if you wanted another Outlast 1, then this might be a bit different. Not underwhelming, but different. I was warned before playing, so I decided to play it with a grain of salt. But if you treat it as just another horror game rather than a continuation of Outlast 1, it's actually pretty good. Anyways, with all that said, grab some snacks because it's time to dive in.
Please, Blake.
The game begins with the voice of a young girl fading in. Someone calls out as she states, "He's here." She mentioned the name Blake, which in Outlast 2 is the name of our character, Blake Langerman. Fading into present times, we as Blake are sitting in a helicopter with our wife Lynn. The place of the last game were in Lake County, Colorado, but this time we're in the valleys of Arizona, flying over the area where supposedly a pregnant woman was murdered, a woman by the name of Jane Doe. The investigator of the case is not us this time, but instead our wife Lynn, and we ourselves play as her cameraman. This would have you thinking that, wow, Blake must really be good at using a camera then. But other than one added feature I'll talk about later, the camera is still fundamentally the same as in the main game, with some additional UI changes. The camcorder is the staple of Outlast, specifically the green night vision effect being used as opposed to the more traditional flashlight in most horror games. Holding the camera and recording certain situations is also the way to get your character's personal thoughts about certain things. In Outlast 1, this would grant you a readable note page that Miles Upshur wrote himself, as to keep personal reminders for his story as a journalist. And in Outlast DLC, the protagonist William Park instead writes them as letters for his wife in the case he would die. In Outlast 2, however, Blake mainly records something for a period of time shown like this, and upon reviewing the recorded footage, we can hear him audibly mumble his thoughts about it, which to me is a weaker reasoning. He also doesn't say nearly as much as the notes would give us in the first game, which combined with the weight of recording something can be slightly unrewarding.
That woman, or whatever she is, beat him to death.
Anyways, as we sit in a helicopter talking to our wife, recording a helicopter shot of her introducing the case, not just to the viewers that they are talking to, but to us, the players, indirectly. That's of course until this happens.
Way 100 miles from near.
Opening our eyes, we find ourselves here, in a school. St. Sybil High School to be exact. This is the first out of many flashbacks we will experience. And it's about now we start to notice the psychological horror aspect of Outlast 2 that will become increasingly apparent as we play on. We walk up to an open locker belonging to someone called Jessica. And this is now the second time we've heard that name, as in a helicopter ride earlier. Lynn actually said we muttered that very name in our sleep. And Blake clarified he dreamt of a mutual friend of theirs from childhood. As we continue on, we see a bald pastor in the corridor that walks away. Following him, we eventually get to a door that closes on us, and turning around, we see a young girl. Oh! Waking up, we find ourselves on the side of a cliff, seeing the crashed helicopter down below. As we parkour our way down, we can see just how beautiful this game is. Both Outlast 1 and 2 were made in the same engine, Unreal Engine 3. However, during the making of Outlast 2, Red Barrels mentioned that they did make a lot of adjustments to anything from the gameplay to the visuals. I'm not usually someone who cares all that much about visuals of a game, unless they're like really interesting or impact the gameplay somehow. But I still wanted to mention how beautiful this game is even in today's standards. We go down to the wreckage only to find that Lynn is not there, and that the pilot has been strung up and massacred, showing just how it feels to play Dark Souls 2. This means that something has already been here and possibly taken our wife. We go on to slide down a cliff as we see this small, quiet settlement that, according to Blake, is not supposed to be here. Entering the village, there doesn't seem to be anyone opening as Blake knocks on doors for help. Oh, and there's people in the woods. Yeah. Going through the village, we make our way through a window. By this point, we have also learned that in this game there's a lot of ways you can hide, including barrels. Barrels with water inside of them. Water in general. Under beds. Under carts. And of course, in blood. Anyways, we are taught the crawl mechanic as we go under a fence and get to this little tunnel. And inside we can find a local dead children pile. You know, like every town has. Going out the other side of the tunnel, there is a town and even this villager here. She didn't trade anything though, she just started walking towards me, so yeah, screw you lady. I'll go into this barn. Oh, it's cozy in here. I sure hope we don't fall from the attic and get threatened by that tall evil woman. Oh.
Oh, Jesus!
Then you'll have.
that is Marta, one of the main antagonists of this game and my personal favorite. Basically, she is the enforcer slash soldier of the people here, and is even referred to as the Angel. Her weapon of choice is this badass pickaxe cross thing, and she is also notoriously strong. Feed it! Feed it! Feed it! Feed it! I especially love her whole vibe as she is slowly walking towards us, muttering scripture and basically giving calms to God while looking for us. Hit it! Exiting the barn, we start running into these villagers who have clearly gone mad, just rambling scripture, and upon seeing us they immediately turn hostile. They end up almost swarming us until a blinding flash covers the area, when the same horn sound effect that crashed our helicopter plays once again. The villagers all seem genuinely hurt by this, but luckily we are fine. As we move on, we start closing in on a church, as someone uttering a sermon can be heard through the speakers around the village.
We stand in opposition to the Antichrist if we hope to be them. We cannot only try to be like Jesus, we need to be like God.
And this is the first introduction to the main bad guy of this game, Sullivan Knoth. By this point, we have seen these paintings of him in various houses, as well as documents of his teachings. Sullivan is a self-proclaimed prophet of this place, and a person whose beliefs seem to shape just about everything we've seen so far. Marta? Yeah, she's his angel. Basically another servant doing his bidding, thinking he is some sort of messiah. His voice will echo through the speakers for a lot of the game, as we move around the village. And so you could almost call him Sullivan Knoth. Gonna shut up. Inside the church, the tension slows down as we go down to the basement, finding several caged humans crying and praying. I know I always make comparisons to other games, but to this point, this game has really reminded me of Resident Evil 4. In that game, we are playing as an investigator who goes to the middle of nowhere to find a girl, just like here. But then one of the cops driving him disappear as he's going on a piss break. So we go look for him, only to stumble in on a highly religious village with inhabitants that will attack us on sight. Sound familiar at all? Anyways, when playing Outlast 2, I was so sure it was inspired by that game, but no. The inspiration was something entirely different. Also, it's around this point of the game that we realize that these hostile villagers, including Marta, aren't hostile because they are animal psychopaths like the variants in Outlast 1, but they are instead brainwashed, completely devoted to this cult and believing everything they do is the right thing. I do still think the concept of the variants were a bit more scary, because you can't really negotiate with them as they want to kill you just because you're human. But I do still think this whole concept is a very cool one. Leaving the church, we finally see Lynn escaping through a window. Blake, of course, goes down to her and they start running together. Suddenly though, she starts complaining about a pain in her stomach. So bad she even has to sit down. Upon asking what the cultist even did to her, she replies she doesn't want to talk about it. But upon leaving, we hear the preachings of Sullivan from the speaker saying there's a child in her belly and he is checked. Is this game? He says Lynn and Blake both need to die, as God wants the child. And it's not before long the two are ambushed by the cultist again. That's of course until another group appears, these being dressed with crowns of branches, and having this one lady that's weirdly turned on. This group then attacks and game ends the cultist, takes Lynn, and then the lady licks us in the face before they leave us in the mud. I feel like I need to explain what just happened. Basically, this village, this area, has two sides. There are these cultist Christian people led by Sullivan Knoth, who claims Lynn is pregnant with a devil, and they need to kill her to avoid her giving birth. I will keep calling these people the cultists. Then there is this new group called the heretics. The heretics are basically the opposite, but also kinda the same as the cultists. They also do believe Lynn is pregnant with a devil. However, they are satanistic and want the Antichrist to be born. These people don't live in a village, and instead resides in a mining site on the outskirts, and their leader is this woman here called Val. At one point we see her brought up in the teachings of Sullivan, saying she basically left the cultist as she was forced to kill a bunch of children she was taking care of. And together with others who also believed the cultists were crazy, she decided that the Antichrist must be born if that means the end of the world. And also she's very lustful. Anyways, we take our camera and start following a river as we get to some houses by a lake. Avoiding the patrolling cultists there,
how are you? I am under the water.
we are about to go here until we get a flashbang thrown at us, sending us once again back to the school.
What the hell? I remember this.
You do?
Jessica. And Lynn. I'm back in the 4th grade. And here I thought this couldn't get any worse.
What happened in 4th grade? Oh, I don't want to play. Okay, yeah. Cool. Waking up, a man by the name of Ethan is standing next to us. Luckily, he doesn't seem to be violent and even offers to let us stay at his house. We don't have many other options but to trust him. And as we follow, he says he had a 15-year-old daughter who was taken and forced to have sex with Sullivan Knoth. Yeah. Upon getting her pregnant, Sullivan also had the nerve to claim her child was the Antichrist and that Ethan had to kill her, which he of course refused and left the cult. Blake realizes that the daughter he's talking about is Jane Doe, the same girl that him and his wife came here to investigate the murder of. Ethan then lets us sleep in his basement, but we soon wake up as we hear Martha interrogating Ethan upstairs, claiming he is hiding us. Ethan doesn't snitch, the fucking legend, and as a result Martha game ends him, because in her eyes he's a traitor in numerous occasions now. And as she ends his life, she says this.
Take your penance. God loves you. God loves you.
God, I love Martha. I mean, she's horrible, she kills people, but as a villain, whenever she's talking, she's doing so in a monotone voice, never needing to raise her voice because no one dares to not listen to her. She never even runs because she doesn't need to, as no one dares to run away. Even when game ending someone, she just says God loves you. Like she's trying to comfort them in death, even though she is the one who killed them. Afterwards, Blake leaves the house claiming Ethan can now join his daughter in the afterlife. One thing Martha mentioned as she was talking to Ethan was that Sullivan plans on interrogating 2 captured heretics on the whereabouts of Lynn in the chapel, and Blake decides to venture there so he's able to listen in on the conversation. We move on down a river that leads to a bridge, getting to a cornfield area with heretics strung up on crosses and burned. The goal here is basically just to get past a few areas while avoiding these cultists looking for us. And with that knowledge, please enjoy my pain as I had to endure this shit. The bridge that leads to the chapel is collapsed, so instead we go down here and parkour our way to this underground altar statue devil thing belonging to the heretics. That's cool. Let's leave. There is another thing I haven't mentioned yet. Remember how I said that the camera for this sequel comes with an additional feature? Well, that feature is the microphone. Basically, if we're in a windy or isolated area, we can use this to pick up any footsteps or voices further away that we otherwise wouldn't be able to hear. This lets us know if something is close or coming towards us. A problem I found is, as someone who just played the first game, I kept forgetting about this feature. However, it does seem like that has been a common complaint, as the game will remind you of this feature a few times. As we get out from the cave, we see let's see, I'm sure it was nothing. We get to another village as we spot the chapel on the mountains. This game is beautiful. Like, this looks great, doesn't it? With the fog. Yeah, this looks fantastic. Going into the village, we break into a basement. The same basement that Val, that one turned on lady, initially used to conduct meetings with the other soon-to-be heretics as they were leaving the cult. I know. You love my fun facts. We move on to find an elevator that needs power to run and get the objective to find a generator. This area is another one of those stealth missions I mentioned before, in which we have to seek and avoid the cultist villagers in order to make it to the generator. It almost felt like trying to sneak past enemies in a Souls game because you're too low level to fight them, yet you still need to get your money back from where you died.
I can't
fucking compete! I just can't
As we do get to the generator, we turn it on and definitely don't get jump scared. Oh. As we're gonna go back to the newly powered elevator, we notice the villagers have gone into hiding, only to see Marta. Yeah, you wanna kill me, I get it. Wanna get dinner sometime, by the way? Alright. The elevator takes us to this place, where we can see a sign that finally lets us know what this whole town is called, Temple Gate, as well as Sullivan Knoth being labeled a modern Ezekiel. Ezekiel is a prophet from the Hebrew Bible, a witness of many powerful visions that God showed him, which he then spoke of in his teachings. And the fact that Sullivan is compared to him is something to keep in mind. This area also has a well in the middle. Surely nothing will happen if I go up to the well. Ah, shit. Back to the school. Oh, you were watching this video to escape your school thoughts and assignments? Boom! School. Remember to study. We once again find Jessica's open locker, this time containing a music box that we crank. And as we then follow her voice, we see the second vision of her hanging from a noose. Here, going up to her triggers this to happen. Oh! Back in town, we are kicked down the stairs and have to run from the villagers. I died like 6 times here, mainly because of one problem that this game has, but don't worry, I will talk about that. There is this pretty fun bit where we need to quickly hide under a bed as someone barges their way inside, before we then make our way to a cave. Going past a bunch of corpses, we get to another house. Move up, get spotted, escape, another basement. You're starting to understand the major loop of this chapter. This time we're in a schoolhouse and see on a chalkboard how the kids were basically taught to accept their impending deaths. Leaving, we push a cart to jump over a fence, which is so much fun that we want to do it a second time, but in doing so we get interrupted by Marta. But after hiding, we get back to pushing the cart all the way. Let's go! Let's go! Finally, we arrive at the chapel, as we see this heretic by the name of Josiah begging us to kill him. Unfortunately, we don't get the chance before the meeting we came here to eavesdrop on begins.
We found her, Josiah, trying to flee amongst the skulls.
Let her go! Oh God, Mary, I'm sorry.
The outsider woman has this world's destruction in her womb. But Val and his apostates stole away the unborn enemy. She will bear her filthy yield before dawn. We have only these few hours to find her and save this paradise from hell everlasting. Where did Val take her?
I can't. I can't.
Make the woman scream.
Stop! Oh God, please!
Where did Val take her?
Stop! Stop! I'll talk up the mountain. Val has her in the mine. Look!
Give the woman rest.
Where the fuck are the mines?
Alright. Basically, Lynn is with the heretics in the mines. The cultist wants her before the baby is born, which is at dawn, apparently. And it's now our objective to find her before they do. Anyways, from here, there's a long series of just walking and avoiding things. So while that all plays in the background, I'll share some fun facts about Outlast 2. Number 1. The chapters in Outlast are named after the books in the Christian Bible, ranging from Genesis being the first chapter to Revelations being the last. Number 2. The scene in the beginning where we see a bunch of blood coming towards us in the school was inspired by The Shining. 3. In the town square, one of the house's basements contains an Easter egg of writings on a wall, which is apparently a reference to Dr. Traeger's torture methods in Outlast 1. Oh, it's Marta! Same, bro. Number 4. Marta is the best Outlast 2 character. Number 5. This game took me 9 hours to beat on a normal difficulty, hinting at a slight possibility of me being trash at horror games. How? Number 6. These videos take a long time to make, and if you like them, you should consider subscribing so that one day I can do this full time. Number 7. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is the worst game in the FNAF franchise. Anyways, after dying a few times, we eventually escape to this house that we climb into, only to once again find ourselves in the school. Boom! Hangman game. Go over here, but avoid the ghost. Take a projector sheet. Go back. Boom. Put it on the projector. Boom. Boom. Put the projector so it aligns with the game. Boom. Unforgivable. Go back to entrance. Boom. New door. Boom. My fucking night vision ran out. Can't see anything at all. Apparently there's supposed to be stuff going on here. Too bad I'm blind. Go in here. Escape through vent. Boom. Long tongue and boom. Back to reality. Oh my god. We crawl our way out this tunnel and finally see the mine location, the place where Lynn is being held hostage. Walking over a bridge to get there, we are swarmed by these weird locusts that make us lose balance and fall directly into the trees below. I think it's finally time I rant about my main problem with this game. It's something reoccurring that we have to deal with on a lot, and I mean a lot of occasions. And what I like to call it is, where the fuck do I go? In my previous videos, I spoke about many things I thought that the first game did well, including pacing, immersion, chases, etc. There's one thing I wanted to bring up too that Outlast 1 succeeded on, and it's level design. Good level design in horror games is crucial, as if the design of an area is too easy to navigate, you rush by too fast and don't have to avoid the scary antagonist. However, if it's too difficult to know where you need to go, you get situations like this. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't mean hand-holding, or that there needs to be a sign or yellow paint where you need to go, because a really good level design doesn't even need to do that. The layout of an area is about using small things you barely notice so that the player knows what to do without explicitly being told so. If you didn't know, I study graphic design, and a big thing we need to learn is hierarchy and typography. Basically using design to subconsciously lead the viewer's eyes to read in the order we need them to. And game design is a very similar. This is Little Nightmares 2, a very good horror game that has exceptionally good level design. You go into this room. There's a button there, and before you have naturally been taught that you can throw stuff, so immediately you look for something to throw. Here is a jar. You pick up the jar and throw it on a button. No directions or signs needed because everyone understands. Look at this scene. We are being chased by a big hunter guy with a shotgun. Using boxes, we avoid his shots until we run in here and close the door. With no instructions, our eyes are just drawn to this big shotgun on the wall. Our small ass protagonist can't pick it up, but we drag it down and automatically know what to do. We work together with our friend to pick it up, hold it, and shoot the guy before he gets in. Now let me show you the situation without me explaining it. See, that situation was stressful and adrenaline inducing, but at the same time it's easy enough for us to know what to do. You get that super scary feeling that the horror game wants you to have, without the frustration of having to do it over and over again. And eventually this scary villain is not even scary anymore, it's just annoying. In Outlast 2 there's multiple, and I mean multiple sections, where you are being chased, running through an area and you're expected to go somewhere, but there's barely any clues as to where that is. I thought this was a me problem at first, but for example, here is Markiplier playing it.
That guy's getting through that. Oh shit, what do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? Where do I go? What do I do? What do I do? I wasted time. Wow, the window! Get out the window! Get out the window!
That not good enough? Here is the guided playthrough on the Outlast wiki, not knowing where to go and dying, which means they have to start over again. You might say I'm just bad at the game, which is probably true, but the game should still be accessible. The hard thing about a horror game shouldn't be figuring out what to do, it should be having to conquer your fears and having to face the darkness or the scary villain. Anyways, I'll stop yapping. Waking up, we're laying upside down on a tree branch from our fall, as we see and hear a conversation of someone being interrogated, specifically about that swarm of locusts we saw that pushed us down, only for them to be shot with a flame enchanted bow from Minecraft. We then get down and take our camcorder as we once again get moving, until we get here. You know before when I said there was 2 teams, 2 factions? Well, I lied, there's 3. These are the Scald, a group of people with syphilis. This game is Really weird. Germophobia warning, by the way, because someone immediately pukes on us. This area is split into 3 major events, which I'll speed through because this video is long enough as it is. The Scald are basically offspring of the cultists, as back when Sullivan Knoth started the cult, it was due to him one day listening to a gospel and disagreeing with a Christian view on sex outside of marriage. Hi, editor, LSE here. I failed to mention that Knoth didn't just start a cult because he was listening to radio and disagreed with a sermon. Although that did happen, it was mainly more due to him experiencing a vision from God afterwards, hence tying back to the whole new Ezekiel thing. Also, if you have watched this far into my video, thank you very much. And yeah, I'll shut up. Knoth believed life should be created more. So once his teachings got a following, and encouraged women to breed very much. However, with unprotected intercourse, basically among every person in the village, some STDs, including syphilis and gonorrhea, began to spread. And those who were really affected were cast out into this camp down the mountain. These people do still repeat the teachings of Sullivan, but they also have their own gospel. The gospel of the Scalded Christ, which was written by a man called Laird Byron. And this is the man who was shooting arrows from the top of his homie. In this gospel, they believe there to one day come an outsider sent from God, someone they could sacrifice to remove their sickness, just like how Jesus' death washed away sin, and they unfortunately believe Blake to be that outsider. The first part just consists of us avoiding them as we eventually slide down here and we're back in the school. We follow Jessica for a bit until we go into here, where we can read an email about how someone called Father Lautermilch doesn't want Jessica to be allowed on a school trip coming up. I'm sure that doesn't mean anything. We then see Jessica again. This time she's singing for whatever reason. And then we climb up here and we're back in reality. I'll explain these school parts eventually, don't worry. Anyhow, we get grabbed and then try to sacrifice us on a cross, which like we obviously get out of. Seriously, they might really want to sacrifice us, but they suck at sacrificing people. 2 nails through the hands? Yeah, I'll rip my hand out. Thank you, time to go. They took our camera too, so we just go here and take it back. And we're back in the school again. Really? This time we're in a cafeteria, where we have some hangman games or whatever. Then a phone starts ringing, but when we go there we are chased by this tongue demon, covered in arms, looking like he came straight out of the forest. We then answer the ringing phone and someone calls us a cocksucker, as we then get a Freddy Krueger reference. We then go out and get chased. Here I died 8 times, by the way, because where the f do I go? Like, what? Oh, don't worry, you're supposed to go into this locker. And as we do, we're back in the STD town. This time we're in a new area where Laird, the guy with the flame bow, is shooting at us. We make our way down here and follow the path that leads us into sliding straight into barbed wire. And while Laird finds us and begins burying us alive, let's see some more fun facts about Outlast 2. Number 1. The guy that Laird is riding on is called Nick Tremblay, but he never says anything, so who cares? Number 2. Laird and Nick was inspired by Master and Blaster from Mad Max. Number 3. Blake doesn't die here because they for some reason just covered us in like 2 inches of fucking dirt, so we could obviously just open the coffin and leave, bro. I gotta breathe. We leave the scene and make our way to this pulley system. Unfortunately, we need rope and someone borrowed it to hang themselves. We have to avoid the absolute sniper that Laird is with his arrows, while he also really berates the Scald with insults, which is something that has been going on for a long time now probably, as when we do start escaping with a rope, both Laird and Nick is pushed down with us.
Maybe I could... fuck.
I don't want to. Please don't. Please. Oh my god. That's not very nice. I'm so sick. I'm so sick.
I need not fear if thou were near. Thou art me.
As we escape our dream, we find ourselves in a cave that we then walk out of. And as we do, we find a lake. Oh my god! In the distance, we can see 2 radio towers, which is kinda cool. We then take this raft and start crossing the lake, and while that plays in the background, I want to talk about music. You can say what you will about Outlast 2, but you have to agree that the music in this game is phenomenal. Samuel Laflamme ensures that the chase music truly encapsulates the unnerving tension and fits the vibe perfectly. A few of my favorites is the theme that plays when Marta is chasing you. And also this song that plays in the beginning of the game. There is this video on YouTube called Interview with composer Samuel Laflamme, showcasing how he uses practical elements to get those terrifying rasping metal sounds. Which is just so cool. It really felt like Outlast 1 with a much more grimy aesthetic. Even opening the main menu for the first time really sets the tone of what you're about to experience. Anyways, we get flashbanged and hallucinate a tsunami. That's weird, almost like those flashes are making us hallucinate things. Almost like they're making us crazy. We use this raft that has the worst controls I have ever experienced as we go down a river and end up in this place. Until suddenly the dog shit raft breaks. We have to duck underwater to avoid the heretics here. That's of course until Tongue Demon grabs us and pulls us down into the school again. This time we're in a pool and we have to go into the girls' locker room to watch the most hygienic toilet in Birmingham. We make our way to the stairs and end up in a computer lab, where we see a hangman game. Can we presume to say not telling is worse than lying, which actually gives some insight into what kind of guilt Blake is living with. Something that happened, presumably to Jessica, that he's blaming himself for, and it's assumed at this point that she may have quit the game on her own accord. The terror in Blake's psyche stresses him out, having to face the consequences of something that happened so long ago that is suppressed until now. And as he's finally back to the normal world, it's raining blood. One of my favorite psychological horror games of all time is Mouthwashing, a game in which you slowly learn things about your character, Jimmy, through conversations and small glimpses into the past. Your character is a monster, a flat-out evil and horrifically self-centered man who has to cope with the consequences of his actions, avoiding the need to take responsibility even if the world is telling him to do so, even mentally ignoring the worst thing he did to one of the female crewmates, as if not looking at it will make it go away, because his own goal is to become a hero by his own standards, and in doing so he betrays everybody one by one. I'm not saying Blake is even close to what Jimmy did, but the kind of psychological horror that forces the protagonist to confront themselves and take responsibility are one of the most interesting ways to paint a character. This rain of blood we're seeing are not just metaphoric for a doomsday, but it symbolizes the pressure and regret that Blake is putting on himself, which is what differentiates a normal guy like Blake from a psychopath like Jimmy after doing something terrible. As we finally arrive at the mining facility, we climb our way to the top. That's likely where the entrance is. On our way, we see what the heretics have been up to, as we find the remains of people who did not like and subscribe. We find this cultist who's still alive, saying the heretics are bad and that Blake needs to leave. Blake doesn't, and instead goes through here and gets back to the computer lab. Boom. Computer room. Messages between Jessica and Blake on Blake's computer. Turn around message. Go to Jessica's computer. Boom. See messages. Apparently she's talking to adults anonymously about depression and abuse at home. That's actually really sad. Anyways, computer flashing. Boom. Go through hallways. Jessica is down by the pool. Boom. There she is again. Boom. Tongue demon. Run. Tongue demon again. And back to real life. The montage is over. Oh, don't tell me we're back in a walk. See dead Jessicas everywhere. Tongue demon chases us through a maze of bookshelves. I hate this area. Leave the fucking tongue demon. More bookshelves. Jessica, we follow her back to real life. We go down a staircase listening to the average voice chat of a card lobby until we are chased to a window and jump down onto Jessica's corpse because we're once again back at the Jessica is dead with a broken neck on a staircase, and on top of the stairs we see the tongue demon looking down on us. Well, time to run. Bathroom, hide in stall, crawl under stalls, go out, get chased, priest guy, hangman puzzle, I'll never let you go, open window, go out, back to real world. As it's still raining blood, we shimmy here and jump over. I said jump over. I said jump. Oh my god. We jump over here and make our way to an elevator. Upon pressing it, a cart smashes through like that truck in the beginning of Resident Evil 2. And also an elevator pulls up full of angry heretics. However, once we do some running around, juking them, we make our way back and use the elevator to slowly go down. Blake Langerman is now mentally falling apart. His flashbacks that started off as distant dreams are now more frequent than me at the local bar. So much so that it's even affecting his perception of the real world. How there's blood raining from the sky, and even though he has voice lines in this game, he barely acknowledges it. The mission we've had in this entire game is misremembered as it says he needs to find Jessica before realizing it's Lynn he's trying to save. We see this situation of trying to save someone close to him is a repeat of his trauma, and probably why he has so much tenacity in this situation, refusing to fail again. We travel for a while in the caves, hallucinating the tongue demon speaking to him and jump scaring him at one point, before we descend deeper. We then drop into here, as we are grabbed by heretics. Val, the face-licking woman from chapter 1, steps forward. She tells us to reveal our true face, like we're a catfish on a dating app. Oh, and then rocks fall on the two heretics holding us, and we can run away. Cool! Thank you, God. Now we're back in a cat and mouse hide and seek section. This time with Face Licker Val. I feel like this is the most similar section to the kind of gameplay we had in Outlast 1, as we find that the way out is covered in electrical wires, meaning we have to find two levers to turn off the power, while at the same time avoiding Val. Just like having to pull these things while avoiding Chris Walker, or finding a key while avoiding Traeger. There's a really interesting mechanic here, as the room is full of water, so crouching lets us hide under the surface, which is, in my opinion, a pretty creative and thrilling way to handle a hide and seek section in a horror game, as it feels truly tense when you're sitting underwater, just praying she leaves before you run out of air, as well as hoping she's not near once you peek out. Eventually we do shut the power off and escape. There is this long puzzle part where we push minecarts to move forward, as we then once again are chased for a bit. Finally a board breaks and we fall down here into this endless dark ass cave. Let me ask you a question. Looking at this image, where do you think we have to go to move on? Here? Good guess. Let's go there. Oh, there's nothing. Alright, let's keep looking. Oh, there's nothing else? Maybe here? No. Well, trust your gut, because it was here. You just needed to find this small side path, which is more hidden than a super secret room in a Binding of Isaac. And then you can move on. Okay, it can't possibly get worse from here. Oh. Okay. There goes the camera. And here is... oh my god. Unfortunately, I can't show what is going on here, so I'll just describe it for you. What we see in this room is basically a group of people, all covered in mud, of course, indulging in a certain activity here and there with each other all over the place. Let's just say it's not very YouTube friendly. Oh, and amidst this scene is our wife, tied down and screaming for our help. We go over to her, but of course Val finds us and drugs us, which sends us into, you guessed it, the school. Blake is his 10-year-old self, reliving a memory as we're playing with Jessica in the school after closing hours. Walking with her, she asks if she can stay at Blake's house before his parents come home, but upon being asked why, she doesn't answer, presumably because she doesn't want to go back home to her abusive parents, something we read earlier in the computer lab. Suddenly, this music teacher, called Father Lautermilch, pops up, the same man we have seen countless times in these flashbacks, and I think this is a scene I'll have to let run on its own.
What don't you know, Jessica?
Oh, sorry.
What are the two of you doing in here?
I'm sorry, Father Laudermilch. We stayed after school for journal?
Let's step back into class, please.
Blake?
You're not in trouble yet, Blake. You don't want to get in trouble, do you?
Just stay with me.
I want you two to tell me what you were doing in here. Were you misbehaving? Do I need to call your parents? I only want us to be friends. Nobody's in trouble yet. Does one of you think you can make this right? Jessica? Jessica, look at me. Will you pray with me? Will you help me make this right? Why don't you go along home, Blake?
Don't go.
Did I interrupt something between you two?
It wasn't like that.
Then what did you want? You won't say? You know, shame is a gift from God to let you know right from wrong. And what you want is very wrong. Go home and pray.
Stay. I want you to stay.
Blake, please. This is awkward enough. Nothing's the matter, but I need you to leave us.
Don't.
Everything's okay. You can leave, young man. Walk away.
As we, Blake, walk towards the exit, he suddenly heard Jessica scream. The very same scream that has echoed through his head this entire game so far. He turned around and began running, seeing Jessica being chased by the teacher. Blake heard him telling Jessica to be quiet as her screams died out, eventually making it to the stairwell, seeing her with a broken neck, and Lautermilch standing on top of the stairs and telling him the following.
I don't know what you think you saw.
It is then presumed afterwards that Lautermilch staged Jessica's death as self-inflicted with hanging, with the merit being her depression due to her parents' abuse. The very obvious thing to note here, in my opinion, is that this priest is a
PDF file.
I know. What a twist. All those hangman things we saw was made by Lautermilch to stage her death. Us seeing Jessica hung is not there because it's scary. We see it because it's genuinely haunting Blake. He was too young to realize what happened. Too young to even know how to react. So he just never talked about it. The murder of Jessica was never discovered by anyone. And Blake grew up being the only one who knew what happened to her. Also knowing that the perpetrator went off scot-free. And it's with that knowledge that we finally say goodbye to this memory. As the cultists have found a cave, we see the heretics being overwhelmed and slaughtered like me and my friends 2 seconds after stepping foot on Eclipsed Artifice in lethal company. One spots us as we run out, which triggers a final chase. This one is a lot more straightforward than all the other ones, and felt like an epic final escape from this place. Eventually we find Lynn outside, who is somehow 9 months pregnant, even though we saw her a few hours ago. Outside there's a storm, and as Lynn is screaming in pain, we lay her down on a bed to rest. However, she soon has to keep moving as we get a surprise visit by none other than Marta! I know you're in pain, my wife, but I might honestly leave you for Marta. I love her more. Marta chases us through the storm in an epic finale. Having swore to kill us back in the very beginning, she's finally about to fulfill her promise.
God guide my hand. God give me voice. God guide my hand. God give me voice. God guide my hand. God give me.
We lie hopelessly, basically accepting our death, as she holds her pickaxe in the air in the most epic scene in this game. What the f- What? The f- That is the death of Marta. I'm not sure if it's luck, circumstance, bad game design, or God, but the cross from atop the chapel was struck by lightning and fell right through her specifically. I don't care how much you want to say this is circumstantial, bad story writing, but I loved it, so f*** you. The couple goes into the chapel, as Lynn's freaking water breaks, and she begins giving birth to a child and then dies.
There's nothing there.
Oh, Jesus, God. Lynn! Lynn!
School flashback. You thought we were done here, but nope. This is a short one. It just consists of this conversation right here, taking place before the last scene that led them to play fighting. As Jessica questions Blake if he has a crush on Lynn, which right now was a very sad question as he did marry her, but now she has died too. Going back to the real world, we notice our child is wrapped in cloth, and by us it's none other than the Duke from Resident Evil 8. Wait, none other than Sullivan Knoth. He explains how he thinks that child is the Antichrist, and basically the end of the world as now God has gone silent. He suggests we kill the baby ourselves while we still have the chance, before slitting his throat open and dying too, leaving Blake completely alone. The heretics are dead, including Val, who apparently died off screen. Laird is dead. Marta is dead. Even the cultists are dead, as not only Sullivan but his entire following took their lives after the child was born, which we see as we pass them by, having all taken cyanide poisoning on their own accord. We look at the sun with our child in hand, as the flash once again expands and swallows us whole. One last time we are at the school with Jessica. She grabs Blake's hand and assures him that they both will never let go of each other as they finally sit down and pray.
Watchful Savior, wash away all I've been wrong today. Help me every day to be gentle, gentle, more like thee.
And that's it. I'm sure you have a lot of questions right now. Don't worry, I did too. So I'll try to clear some things up. Number one, what were those blasts? This was one of the biggest questions after playing the game for most people. But don't worry, if you go to this dark area in the game, you can find a tiny piece of paper completely hidden that explains it all. Basically, and get ready for this, those regular white blasts we saw came from these radio towers, structures that were placed around this area with a set interval to send out this signal in the surroundings. Well, these radio towers were actually built by Murkoff Corporation, yep. Who could have seen it coming, am I right? The same corporation that owned Mount Massive Asylum. Yep, the citizens of Temple Gate, every one of them are subjects of Murkoff. In Outlast 1, the morphogenic engine made people into variants, giving them hallucinations and turning them insane. Here, the same effect is being sent through feedback loops using these towers, which while 1 or 2 flashes doesn't really affect you, a longer exposure to them will make you more and more insane. Hence why Blake's hallucinations got more and more intense and frequent during the course of the game. This also explains Sullivan Knoth's teachings, as he said he was given visions from God, which was likely just Murkoff giving him hallucinations from the towers. I couldn't really find how Knoth got his first vision, the one he got when he wasn't even near Temple Gate. It's only said that he grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, had some financial problems, and listened to this evangelical radio station to feel better. This was when he disagreed with some aspects of Christianity, but apparently he also heard God's voice under the static. My theory is that Murkoff was behind this station too. I don't know. He then began teaching God's words to others, eventually gathering a following that traveled together to Temple Gate. I believe that's when he actually started getting visions, due to the towers. Number 2. Why was Lynn pregnant? About halfway through the game, Blake basically said how he and Lynn hasn't had the chance to create a baby together in a few months now, and so it doesn't make sense how she even became pregnant. The answer to this I could find is that it's related to the phantom pregnancies in Outlast 1. Basically, being even close to the morphogenic engine as a female was said to give phantom pregnancies, which I just thought meant they became pregnant without having intercourse, but it more specifically means they get the symptoms of pregnancy, including nausea and swelling up. However, there is no child and the woman just dies. This is what happened to Lynn. What do you mean, Elsie? We can clearly see a child. Let me explain. Hear me out now. There actually wasn't a baby. A hint is that if you pay attention you can see there is no shadow. And also Jessica's last words being there is nothing there. Jessica, who was taken by the heretics and held deep underground, was out of reach from those blasts, while Blake has been subjected to countless of them and is basically crazy. That's why him, as well as Sullivan, both could see the child while it actually wasn't there. Number 3. What happened to the child molester? Oh, he's fine. Number 4. Why the did the sun explode? Okay, so this is something I really couldn't find the answer to at first. And then I found out about the Outlast comic book called the Murkoff Account. In that book, we follow some behind the scenes stuff at Murkoff, but also learned that the Wall Rider, who is here apparently, possessed a colony of ants to start attacking the Murkoff radio towers that broke them. Which is why those white explosions stopped and Sullivan's visions disappeared. Which is what he meant by God has gone silent. However, something about this attack for some reason made the radio towers explode and send out a signal stronger than ever. Which explains this thing. Number 5. What happens to Blake? In the comic, Murkoff find him in a completely catatonic state, but still alive. I want to quickly say that the lore and story of this game is very convoluted, and it took me a really long time to even make sense of it. So much so that I really don't know if I missed something or if I was just totally wrong on something, I don't know. If that is the case, then please let me know in the comments. I know I say this every video, but if you are still watching now, this far into the video, then thank you so much. These videos take a stupidly long time to make. Don't worry though, I'm not complaining, I'm having the time of my life, but it does still take a lot of time to play the game, do research, write the script, edit, especially editing, oh my god. So if you do like this content and you want to see more of this kind of stuff, then feel free to subscribe and leave a like, as that would mean the world to me. As I've said before, I really want to do this for a living one day, and I really do appreciate everyone who has shown so much support on my last 2 videos. Really, thank you so much.